for 6 weeks, like going to school board meetings, the board supervisor, stuff like that, and just being involved with maintenance or something.
How did y'all find out about this meeting?
My dad works here.
Oh,
nice.
nice. Very good, very good. Who is your dad?
Ryan. Farmer.
Okay, yeah, all right.
What classes are there?
Government.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Got it. I got it. Sorry. Oh, it's great to meet you. Sorry.
That's all right.
I'm Emma Ito. I'm a tour board member.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. What do you do, Joe?
I am retired.
Oh, good. Living the life.
Yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
right. I retired from Martinsville City Schools after
Oh, okay.
36 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right. Well, good morning. Let me just do a quick housekeeping, make sure we have everything. And I'm going to keep this up for right now. I'm going to share a slideshow in just a few minutes. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you all for joining us. And now I know, Emma, this is your first committee meeting,
Yes.
so thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here. So my name is Christy Dethridge. I am the education manager here at the museum. And why don't we just go around the room, introduce yourself, kind of a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Emma Ito, pronounced she, hers, and I am the Director of Education at Virginia Humanities. And I do a lot with K-12 teachers and lifelong learners, especially within the humanities. And I'm also a public historian. I do a lot of public history on Asian American history.
You to the trustees?
Yes,
Is that right?
yes. Yeah, I think, well, because of COVID, I came on last year near the end, but this is my first time actually being here, so it's nice to be here.
Yes. I'm Joan McCaffrey, and I represent the foundation board. And I'm a retired educator. I've been retired as a school principal and living the life right now.
If y'all would like agendas, I have some, if y'all don't feel like you have to follow along, but I printed some just in case you needed anything for records or anything.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, if y'all want to go around the room,
Yeah, tell us.
tell us a little bit.
Yes.
Yes.
My name is Braden Barber. I go to Tunstall High School.
Great.
12th grade, senior. I play soccer and football. What else? Just like, is that good?
That's
Okay,
good.
cool.
That's good.
My name is Ashlyn Scarce, and I go to Tunstall High School. I'm in 12th grade, and I just dance.
Oh, is it my turn? Oh, I'm Hayden, and I play volleyball and soccer. And I'm also in 12th grade.
My name's Zach Payne. I'm also a senior at Tunstall and play soccer. Also enjoy refereeing soccer.
My name is Luke Castro. I'm a senior and I play soccer.
Well, thank y'all for setting in on our committee meeting today. And of course, if y'all have any questions, please let us know. And so with our education committee, I provide updates on what education and public programs, everything within the quarter. So we meet quarterly and try to provide updates. It's kind of hard sometimes to keep it just to that quarter's information because you want to share out on what, what doesn't fall into that time frame. So if I start talking about something that doesn't really fall into that, just to give you a heads up. I'm going to minimize our Zoom screen. So I'm a very visual person, and so I like to have some images and things like that to kind of highlight things that we've been doing. And so just to kind of get started, and with our agenda, I always start with our basically our numbers served. So here at the museum, we capture data, we capture the number of students that we serve, we capture the number of programming that is presented. And this is very important for reporting grants. I'll talk about some grants in a little while. But it also helps us keep track of just yearly changes and things like that. COVID, of course, really has impacted everything. But so I wanted to kind of share our quarterly numbers. And so what you're seeing is actually on the back side, so you don't have to try to see those tiny numbers on the screen. So these are only for April, May, June. And so at a previous meeting, we were talking about having that comparison of current quarter, but then past quarters. And so that's why I have the 3 separate charts. So the first one being current April through June 2022, comparing with 2021, and then pre-COVID. So the 2019 at the bottom are our pre-COVID numbers. So you can see that our numbers are not quite back up to our pre-COVID numbers. We're working on getting back up to that point. Of course, field trips were greatly reduced last year. We did a lot of Zoom. And so you can see in that 2021, that middle chart, our distance learning numbers were, over 1,000 served with 43 programs. So that was really our focus during that COVID timeframe. And so with our distance learning programs, we connect in the exhibit areas. So we have a rolling monitor, we connect in the exhibit areas, so that way we can highlight specific exhibit content, having activities that they're doing in the classroom. So we communicate with the teachers prior, so we can say, okay, I want the kids to be able to do X, Y, and Z while we're connected. So that way it's not just a lecture. They're not just watching, the Zoom screen. So this past school year, we offered in-person and distance learning. So we kept it very flexible. Once the schools were able to do field trips, we started having them come back on site. This year we've been heavy outreach where we go to the schools. So we have an education program guide that teachers can select programming, STEM-based programming, natural history-based. So we have everything from fossils, archaeology themes, engineering. So they're able to select the program that they would like, and then we can either take that into the classroom and present to the different classes. And so, on a given day, we might visit, if there's 4 third grade classes, we would visit all 4 classes. We do not like to try to combine them all and do like an assembly program. Our programs are very hands-on, so we really keep it to those separate classes, and then we just rotate classrooms.
How many people do you have doing this stuff?
Great question, Joan. So it is myself, and we have 2 educators. One just joined us in April. So she spent the end of this past school year shadowing everything, getting up to speed on everything. So this school year we will have myself and then the 2 educators. So it's 3 of us here. And then with our outreach numbers, you probably noticed I have on there Martinsville, Central, South Central, and Eastern. So as the state museum, we have educators in the Charlottesville area. So we have 3 outreach educators in Charlottesville, and then we have 1 over on the Eastern Shore. And now they, of course, do not have a brick and mortar that they are presenting programs out of. It is purely the outreach programs. So they have the program totes of material that they have in, storage areas. And so when they are presenting with the schools, it's not, coming to a facility. It's
Are you
them
in
going-
charge of those people?
Yes, yes. So I supervise those as well. And so they're starting to see their numbers pick back up too. Our Charlottesville educators just recently did some programming in Waynesboro. So that's really exciting. They of course cover the Charlottesville area and surrounding counties, but having that Waynesboro connection with the future branch of the museum. And then our Eastern Shore educator is working on some summer programming right now, and a huge seafood festival that is in a couple of months that is, of course, seafood focused, but she covers watershed information during that and will be able to interact with a lot of people with that.
Do y'all have like a distance, like if you have someone in like Williamsburg that wants a class, like do the people from Charlottesville go, or you guys like all go? Or?
What we do is kind of look at mileage, who,
Okay.
if they're wanting it in person, who's kind of closer,
Yeah.
and availability.
Yeah.
But we will definitely travel. For instance, this summer, we had some library programs in Charlottesville. Our Charlottesville educators were not available, so our Martinsville educators went up to do the programming. So we can kind of, based on availability. And a lot of times if it is a great distance, we'll look at doing a distance learning, a virtual program, if they're up for that.
Yeah.
Does this include festivals?
Yes. And so,
So next report's gonna show a big increase because of the recent
Yes.
festival.
yes, we,
Okay.
our Dino Festival broke record attendance, which was really nice. We had over 4,000, visitors for that. So, with our numbers, we do capture the festival numbers. Education department will provide activities, crafts, games, demonstrations, things like that. So we have multiple activities for each festival, just kind of a themed activity. So they do include that. So I always like to, kind of review our numbers. So for the quarter, this quarter, our total number served was 2,800, roughly a little over that, with 102 programs. And so we're looking to increase that. I'll talk a little bit later about how we're planning on increasing that. But looking at our numbers, I also like to just kind of highlight some of the things that were included in those numbers. And so I really like to have our visuals. I did include this just for visual, and I can send this if anybody's interested in seeing the details, but this is our yearly number served for fiscal year. We capture it for fiscal year. So you can kind of see our trends. The green is the at the museum number served, which jumps up because of those festivals. Our yellow being our outreach, the Martinsville, Henry County, and then the blue distance learning. So you can kind of see that time frame where distance learning was very popular. And then I also,
Do you have a specific program that is like the most popular?
oh yes, we utilize our live animals.
Oh,
And so that's always
Yeah.
our most popular program, because we will bring in our snakes, our turtles, our hissing cockroaches. And of course, our programs are all SOL based, national standards based. And so it really can cover a wide range of SOL topics. Sorry. But I also wanted to kind of highlight some things. So with this quarter, of course, with our at the museum, the things that were happening here, we kind of switched to our summer camp mode. And so this summer we offered 4 summer camps, and the summer camps are week long, Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. So it's a full day camp. And we have tried half days before, and for parents that work, having that full day schedule is really beneficial. We even offer before and after care. So if they need to, make those adjustments. So our camps this year ranged everything from experiments to nature to fossils. So we really try to highlight the activity that's happening here at the museum. And then also just some fun topics, because who doesn't like to make things, explode with elephant toothpaste. We have youth volunteers that help a lot. I know some in this room have helped with various festivals and things. But we were lucky enough to have a wonderful youth volunteer that helped with all 4 of the summer camps. So by the end, he was, could take on anything.
What's the average age group of people who attend these?
The summer camps, we break it into 2 age groups. So we have one for our younger 6 to 8-year-olds, and then 9 to 11. And so that way it's kind of the material that we're focusing on is kind of more age specific, because we really don't want that 11-year-old with 6-year-olds. It's just it's such a big age difference. And so to kind of explain the image on the left, they were dissecting owl pellets, and so that was a partial skeleton that was still intact that he found in his owl pellet. And then the image on the right was with our experiment camp, but also we included a lot of engineering challenges. And so this was the wonderful egg drop challenge. And so they had to create a device to protect their egg, and they were able to drop it off of our fossil overlook over here. So that was a lot of fun. We had several that actually worked. So summer camps are always a lot of fun. With our at the museum numbers, like we were mentioning, that includes our festival material as well. So crafts and games, a lot of just fun things. We'll set up either in the exhibit areas on the main floor, or we'll utilize our classroom space downstairs for activities. At our Dino Festival, we had a wonderful volunteer from the Virginia School for the Deaf, who is very interested in becoming a paleontologist. So she's really into paleontology right now. She's 14. And so she worked with us with coming up with a table that she could cover with her and her translator. And she did a phenomenal job at the Dino Fest of engaging visitors with different specimens and sharing information about that. And so I've talked with her parents as well as her school translator about having her help with some other events too. That was a lot of fun. The museum in general utilizes volunteers a lot. And one avenue of that, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Virginia Master Naturalist Program. So we have, the museum is actually a statewide sponsor of the Master Naturalist Program, but we also have a local chapter. And so we have a handful of Master Naturalists that really like to help out with our festivals and everything from, kind of engaging the public in what's on display, but they can also work with our curators on more citizen science projects. And so to kind of switch gears to our outreach, the things that we go into the community, schools, but also libraries, our community partners. We work with Piedmont Arts Association, which is just right down the road, for a Earth Day event, back in April. It was really great. We had a lot of community partners that set up, but our table that we covered was about pollinators, and we made some little seed balls that the kids could take home and plant in their garden. So we try to have a lot of community events and libraries and things like that. So these are just some images of some of our outreach program that we work with, an after-school program that's local. It's called MHC After 3, which is Martinsville, Henry County After 3. So during the school year, they meet at 6 different sites, school sites, middle and high school. And then during the summer, they run their program for about 2 months time span when they're out, full day. So we work with them a lot, not only through the school year with after school programming, but summer also. So a lot of fun working with the middle and high school on various projects. And so these are some images of our Charlottesville educator working with the Waynesboro YMCA. So his program revolved around food webs. And so he brought a variety of animal furs, skulls, various material that they were able to get their hands on. But then also they played some interactive games, kind of role play with food webs. So that's Bruce.
Do you go to those, or do you see, do they record?
So a lot of times they will record and capture the images for me. If given the opportunity, I like to go up there too, kind of see what's happening and pitch in too. Sometimes is I need to take some material from here up that they do not have. So yes. So now that we're kind of switching gears from summer into the school year, we'll pick back up with not only our outreach programs with our school groups, but we also work with the public on homeschool programming. We have a large homeschool population in the area. And so we offer programming twice a month, September through May, for homeschool families. And we kind of like our summer camps, we break them into specific age groups. So we have a 6 to 8 year old class, a 9 to 11-year-old class, and then a 12 and up. So that way we're able to cover that age specific information. And they all meet at the same time so that it's very convenient for parents. But we're actually hosting an open house for that next week so that parents can come in, learn a little bit more about the program, register. We have our online registration up and going right now, but for anybody that's new that just wants to kind of find out more about it, we always like to do an open house. We also offer raffles, so kind of some incentives for the parents to come out, and we offer a educator membership, a year membership. We also offer a free month tuition for the class, so they can put in some raffles. Our visitor services manager that oversees our gift shop provided some items from the gift shop, so some stuffies and things like that that the kids can put in for raffles. So kind of a fun event to kind of kick off the homeschool year. We also offer, hey, come on in.
I was texting because you changed up on me.
Oh,
in the
no.
basement.
Oh,
I went the same way.
I was in the basement.
Oh, I'm
I
so
was up
sorry.
and down chairs,
I know,
stairs
with
before.
our Zoom, we had to kind of switch
Okay,
gears.
fine.
So we are live broadcasting on YouTube as
Okay.
well, just to.
So everyone can see I came late.
I'm so glad you could join us, though. Have an agenda for you
Okay,
right
great.
there. And so we were just kind of running through some of the highlights from summer, kind of switching into the school year. So I was telling them about our homeschool programming that we offer twice a month. And then our preschool programming. So we have a toddler age program called Doodlebugs. And so they meet once a month. For 3 to 5-year-olds, an adult has to accompany them, but so that's a lot of fun.
Do you guys also do like tabling at conferences?
We
Like,
do.
Okay, because I know there's like the big homeschool one.
Yes, yes. So we try to, seek out things like that.
Yeah,
We have a homeschool contact list that includes some co-ops.
Right.
And so they've asked us to set up before to kind of talk about what we offer for their co-ops and kind of their group meetings and things like that. So it is a great way to kind of, network, advertise for the museum. So we're always looking for new contacts. Some of the other things that kind of gear up more in the school year, sleepovers. So we have themes that the public can take advantage of for our sleepovers or scout programs. So we can offer boy or girl scout their requirements during our sleepover, and then they get to sleep out in the Hall of Ancient Life, with the dinos or wherever they want to hang out. And we also have birthday party programs. And so we're seeing kind of an uptick with that right now of requests for our birthday party programs. So we try to provide a variety of school programs, public programs. With our distance learning, like I mentioned earlier, we will still continue with our distance learning programs, offering those. So if teachers would like to do that option, we can definitely do that. But I wanted to highlight a few of our upcoming things. So on our agenda under upcoming, we have already signed contracts with some of our local and surrounding county schools. So Martinsville City, I've been working with their STEM coordinator. And so we are going to be providing 4 programs per grade level for the 2 elementary schools. So Martinsville City only has 2 elementary schools here. And then our county has quite a bit more. And so I'm working with them right now. We're still finalizing details for Henry County. But Martinsville, we're already starting the contracted programs for them. Franklin County being surrounding county, we've already contracted with them. So we're looking at a busy school year for programming.
Will that be in-person programming or remote?
Great question. And so we want to be very flexible this year.
Okay.
And so we're giving them the option of it can be us coming to the classroom as an outreach program, them coming to the museum as in-person or virtual. We're keeping that option on the table as well. Towards the end of last school year, we did see an uptick on at the museum visits. Outreach was the more popular choice. And so at the beginning of the school year last year, we just followed all of the COVID protocols. So we would go into the classroom masked. We would make sure that all of our material was, sanitized and things like that. So as those COVID protocols changed, we just kind of, worked with the schools on what to do, what they were comfortable with. And so, yes, we're just wanting to keep it very flexible and what is, convenient for them.
And we used to have a relationship with the Y and their after-school program. What's going on there?
Yes, so we actually, with the after-school groups in the area, the MHC After 3, the YMCA, and Boys and Girls Club. So we have been offering programming for all of them. So this summer, we actually had several days of programming for the Ys here locally and surrounding county, as well as Boys and Girls Club that has a couple of sites in our area, and then the MHC After 3. Yes, and during that school year time too, offering programming for them as well, following their COVID protocols as well. Definitely. Something that kind of came into fruition a couple of months ago. I have been working with JMU's Center for Advancement of Sustainable Energy, or their CASE program, on a project called KidWin. And so this is a statewide program that JMU offers for students, for teachers, to basically have their students create wind turbines. And they actually compete. They will go to regional, local competition, regional, and then a statewide competition. So I've been working with them on the museum being a host site for their wind tunnel. So you can kind of see in the right-hand image, this wind tunnel. It's kind of large, so it's cumbersome for them to try to carry it around to all of the different schools. So we have partnered with them to be the host site, so that if local surrounding county, even further, if they're willing to bring their students here to utilize the wind tunnel, we will have that available for them to conduct all of their initial programming, their kind of tweaking of their wind turbines, so that then they can go on to their competitions. And so we're also looking at having a spring challenge here at the museum. So we're in the works right now. We're looking at maybe a March date to have a KidWin challenge here at the museum, and that would be statewide. And so we could, have the testing sessions and other activities here at the museum for that day. But it's really fascinating to see what the students have created. But then in the left-hand image, you can actually have the program running so that you can see the energy output of their wind turbine. And so they can make slight adjustments or major modifications to see that change of energy output for their wind turbine. And so that's kind of what their challenges are based on, not only the design of their wind turbine, but the energy output. So we received a grant through Siemens Power, Siemens Energy, for purchasing some renewable energy, green energy material. So the museum is currently going through our upgrading with our energy. We've added our solar panels on the roof, which is really exciting. We're just making these improvements, the lighting and things like that. So we were able to receive this grant so that we can then purchase material to either enhance existing programs on this topic or create new programming to offer for the school year on renewable energy. So that's really exciting. So kind of switching to our grant updates on the agenda. We have several grant opportunities. We've received several grants that teachers will have the opportunity to apply for scholarships. And so all of our programs are fee-based because that is how our educators, our educator salary comes from our program fees. So we have several grants that we received that will allow us to offer teachers scholarships to cover those program costs. And our programs costs are very nominal. We look at, they're less than $100 for a program. So they're very nominal, but for our area, being able to offer those scholarships is just a need. So this school year, we will be able to roll out quite a few scholarship programs. So we're looking at, over $10,000 that we will be able to offer with grants. And so we'll have that availability. And then also working with some of our curators on an IMLS grant. And so that's museum and library service, yes. So it's called Scope It Out. We just received notification that we were awarded this grant. And so it is to create a microscopy student lab in one of our existing lab areas. So that's the images on the right. We're going to basically revamp that lab space to create a microscopy lab. And so this will be kind of multi-purpose for the entire museum. So education will be able to utilize this microscope lab with K-12 students, other public groups, not just the school groups, but other public groups, so our homeschool families and such. But also our curators will be able to use this lab space not only for their research, visiting research scientists. So it's going to open up a whole, avenue of possibilities for usage. So that's very exciting. We just received notification that we were awarded that grant. So now it's kind of the process of getting all of the material. It's a year-long grant. So we're right now in the process of ordering the microscopes, getting the room set up, all of those logistics. And as far as education department, we will, of course, have our programming, but we committed in the grant that we would create new programming. We would have some evaluation tools so that we can report back on that.
Yes, let me ask you about the scholarships.
Yes.
Teachers can apply for scholarships. What is a scholarship? What would they be applying to do?
Cover the program cost.
Okay.
Yes. So it is, and the way we have the scholarships set up, the scholarships can cover, if it's an outreach program, just that program fee of us coming to their class. Or if they would like to bring their group here, the scholarships could cover not only the museum admission costs for the students, but also program fees for an education program.
So the contracts with the schools wouldn't cover that?
No, they are paying an amount. What I'm offering with those that have contracted, a limited number of scholarships to help offset their costs. But we're offering our scholarships on a first come, first serve. So with the contracts, it will be a little different. They will have some of the scholarship programming to take advantage of, but then also have paid programming as well. So yes, great question. And so our distance learning, and so with our grants, they can, select one of our virtual programs. Say, that's Terry in one of our exhibit areas, talking about animal needs. With our exhibits, so with our education and public programs committee, with this committee, we have an exhibit subcommittee. So I always report out on our exhibit happenings. And so right now we're in the process, our exhibit manager left last month to take another job. We were very sad to see her go. She did some outstanding work here. But we are already in the process of getting that job description out. We are looking to advertise next week for that. And so we will have that exhibit position again. And so right now we're in that transition. We have our temporary exhibit, the Science of Flight, that has, it's already open. And Ryan Barber has contracted looking at some upcoming exhibits. So we already have our exhibit schedule kind of in line, so that having that position open, of course, we definitely want to, have someone hired on sooner than later. But we have our exhibits kind of lined up right now, kind of that cushion. So we've added some really cool hands-on. We have this topography interactive that is crushed rubber. So that you can kind of scoop it and make a, kind of a topography interactive. Jessica, our former exhibits manager, had created little 3D printed houses and different buildings so that the kids can place those around and, almost create little tsunamis. So that's something really fun that's been added. We also have, you can kind of see it peeking out in the back, we have an interactive floor exhibit. So that is in our wild watersheds. And so when you step on the interactive, it's a lot of fun. A pop-up will tell you about the trout that's on display, and it also creates ripples in the water. So that's a lot of fun. We've added new display cases around the museum. So when we're in the full board meeting, you'll notice some new display cases that we've added specimens in. So looking at the adding new material to our existing exhibits, refreshing, adding new components, adding exhibit components in places that you really wouldn't think of adding exhibit components, in the stairwell, in meeting rooms, so trying to add those components throughout the building to highlight specimens, the research work being done here. And so that kind of covers just quarterly information. I was telling them, so Emma is new to our committee.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, awesome.
But I don't know all the.
Oh, yes, I tell you what, yes. So, would you like to explain? I know. Would you like to kind of explain?
So we all go to Tunstall High School,
Oh, okay,
and we're all in the AP government class.
okay.
And one of our projects is to attend different, like board meetings and committee meetings. And we need 5 hours worth of that every 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So we just come to these meetings and jot down what happens, and stuff like that. So,
Oh, okay, all right, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you kind of get a real view of how things work.
yes, ma'am.
It's been interesting because you should know that appointees for our board, well, I mean, every governor gets to do all these appointees, and sometimes they're definitely along political lines, whereas something like this, truly, the Museum of Natural History should be nonpartisan. But I was surprised that it was each governor gets to clean the slate if they want to and remove people and add people. So I think that's interesting. Last year when I was in Iceland, my tour guide was like, "So how do you guys deal with regime changes every 4 years?" And I was like, "We don't have regime changes." And then I thought, and I was like, "She's right." Yeah. And when someone makes the United States of America sound like a developing country, you kind of end up taking a step back, and then you have to just realize your reality.
You do wonder how they look at our politics.
Yeah.
Because.
No, she made it clear
In the
that
last few
it looks like regime changes.
Yeah.
It looks like complete, just
Yes.
how do you deal with that? And I was like, oh, really? That's what it looks like to the rest of the world.
That's what y'all attending the trustees meeting too.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wonderful. Well, and I guess as far as our committee, the last bit of business that we have is just reporting out to our full board of our key takeaways from our committee meeting that you would like to report out on. And Makunda, would you, so Nathan Sanford is our chair who could not make the meeting today. Would you mind reporting out
Sure.
when it's that time?
Sure.
And what we usually do is kind of as a group discuss what we would like to highlight. So if there's anything that stands out to y'all, and of course, let me know if
On the
I can
back,
provide
the back
some
of there is the outreach stuff. And
Okay.
compared the bottom before COVID to
Yes.
now might be.
So what we were talking about, and this came up at a past board meeting of looking at, we always try to compare our quarterly numbers to the previous year. But also making that comparison to pre-COVID, how are we looking, are we increasing? So we are increasing from last year, but we're
But
not
not
quite
there.
at our pre-COVID numbers yet.
Yeah.
It's something that we did talk about, our numbers served include our festival numbers as well.
Okay.
So it should go up a lot.
Yes.
next year because of the
Yes.
Dragon Festival.
Yeah.
Yes,
But I think it'd be important to talk about that, to
Yeah.
just say we're
That
we're
sounds
moving
good.
in the right direction.
and our breakdown, so we have our outreach numbers, which include our Marksville, our Charlottesville and Eastern Shore educators.
Mhm.
At the museum are, the ones here and include, homeschool programs, school programs. And then, of course, the distance learning are our virtual programs.
Okay.
And so you can see in 2021, distance learning was the
Was the
majority of
thing,
our
yeah.
programming.
Yeah.
But that sounds good. Well, and I tell you what, I am going to close out our Zoom connection. So